There's something eerie about the stillness that hangs in the air when you return home and find the world you thought you knew turned upside down. The absence of sound can be more deafening than the loudest crash, because in that silence, questions flood in like a storm. Where is she? Why is he staring at me like that? If you're intrigued by the mysterious twists of fate and want to know how this story unravels, hit that like button and subscribe. You won't want to miss where this goes. The house was too quiet when I came back, the kind of quiet that seeps into your bones, making every breath feel like a betrayal of the emptiness that settled around me. I hadn't expected it. The day had been long, frustrating, and still, I thought nothing could prepare me for the sight that greeted me when I walked through the door. The faint rustle of a breeze barely stirred the air in the grand foyer, and I could feel the weight of its absence. The marble floors, once shining with pride, now reflected the shadow of a home that felt too large for just one person. Charlotte, my wife, was nowhere to be found. It wasn't like her. Not at all. She'd been in the room when I left. She had to be. I had kissed her goodbye, her arms tight around me like she was holding on to something that was slipping away. And I couldn't even say it was just the frustration of the day, the anger, or the exhaustion. It wasn't. It was the disquieting feeling, the nagging uncertainty that something was wrong, deep in my gut. The first sign that something had shifted was the silence, but as I moved through the grand hallways, one step after another, the unease only deepened. The nursery was empty, baby Luke's crib silent, the gentle hum of the house's automated systems making the walls feel like they were closing in. I called for her, my voice strained against the hollow air. Charlotte. But there was no answer. No soft rustle of her footsteps, no quickening breath, no faint click of her heels moving toward me. The sound of my voice seemed to dissolve, as if it were a memory of someone who used to live here, someone who had long since left. I moved faster, no longer calling out, knowing the answer would come soon enough. The study was open, papers scattered across the desk, some spilled over the side onto the floor. She hated when things were left messy like this, but there was no sign of Charlotte. She wouldn't have left this chaos. Not unless something wasn't right. My stomach churned, dread clawing its way up my throat. And then I saw her. Or, rather, I saw Lily. She was standing there, by the large windows that overlooked the estate's sprawling gardens. My gardener. She was holding baby Luke in her arms, and she didn't meet my eyes. She couldn't. The moment I stepped into the room, she froze. And in that moment, it was as if the world had slipped from under me, leaving nothing but a harsh, uncomfortable reality. My pulse quickened, and my feet suddenly felt too heavy to move, though every part of me wanted to rush forward, to shake her, to demand answers. Lily's eyes were wide, but they weren't the eyes I knew. Her usual warmth was gone, replaced by something I couldn't read. She opened her mouth as if to speak, but no words came out. Her gaze dropped to the baby in her arms, and I noticed then how tightly she was clutching him, her hands trembling. Lily, I forced myself to say. I couldn't stand the silence, the stillness. I don't know what happened, she said, her voice strained, but it was all wrong, all wrong. The words came out like a confession, and I was left staring at her, waiting for more, demanding more, but I couldn't make sense of it. She had to tell me what happened. Charlotte, where's Charlotte? I choked out. I should have known something was wrong. Should have seen it sooner. Should have. And that was when I saw it. The letter. It was lying on the floor, half buried under a stack of papers that had fallen from the desk. It wasn't in an envelope. It wasn't addressed to me. But I knew whose handwriting it was. Charlotte's. The bold strokes of her pen. The way her letters were perfectly aligned. Too perfect. Too neat. Why hadn't I seen this before? My hand reached for it, trembling, as I bent down to pick it up. When I opened it, the first words jumped out at me, and I swear I could feel my heart stop for a split second. David, I'm leaving. I had read the words again and again, my mind trying to make sense of them, to force some understanding into a place that didn't fit. Charlotte was gone. And now, Lily was holding Luke, and I had no idea where my wife was, or why. But one thing was clear, everything had changed. The clock ticked on, its hands mocking me with their rhythmic precision, ticking away precious seconds, as the chaos of the last few moments hit me full force. Charlotte, gone. My baby, here with Lily. But where was she? Where did she go? Why hadn't I noticed the signs before? Why hadn't I seen it? It wasn't supposed to be like this. I had left that morning thinking it would be a normal day. The big deal. The usual rush. Then home. Then Charlotte. Then Luke. But it wasn't. I couldn't shake the thought that this silence, this stillness, was just the beginning. The letter in my hand felt cold, its presence like a signal of everything that had slipped through my fingers. The questions gnawed at me as I tried to piece together the puzzle. Charlotte gone, Lily holding my son, and a letter that made no sense. Why hadn't I seen it coming? What was Charlotte trying to tell me? And Lily? Lily was looking at me as though I were a stranger, as though the world we shared had never existed. There was something I wasn't seeing, something I wasn't understanding, and I had to find out what that was. Now, before it was too late. The days that followed felt like an endless fog, every hour blending into the next as I tried to make sense of what had happened. The house, once filled with the warmth of Charlotte's laughter, now felt like an abandoned mansion, a hollow shell of what it once was. Lily had stayed on, a fixture in the house I couldn't quite dismiss, though every part of me felt like I should. Her presence, both comforting and unsettling, made me feel like I was stuck between two worlds, one where everything made sense, and another where every step forward felt like I was wading through quicksand. Baby Luke was the one constant, his innocent eyes always looking up at me with the trust and love only a child could give. It was a balm, but it was also a reminder of everything I had lost. And with each passing day, the weight of the mystery grew heavier on my chest. Where was Charlotte? Why had she left? And why hadn't I seen the signs? The words in that letter, "I'm leaving," kept replaying in my mind, but they weren't enough. I needed more. I needed the truth. Lily, though she had remained ever present, wasn't speaking to me like she used to. She'd been kind enough to care for Luke, but her eyes had a certain guardedness to them that I couldn't ignore. It wasn't just grief, it was something deeper. I could see it in the way she held Luke, the way she'd flinch every time I came near her, as if she were afraid of what I might say. And then there was her silence, the silence of someone who knew more than they were letting on. One afternoon, after I had spent hours looking through Charlotte's things, her clothes, her jewelry, the little trinkets she had collected over the years, I stumbled upon something I wasn't prepared for. It was tucked beneath a pile of magazines in the study, buried so deep I had nearly missed it. The black leather folder was unmistakable, the kind Charlotte used to keep things she didn't want anyone to find. A shiver ran down my spine as I opened it, the contents inside taking me by surprise. It wasn't just one document. There were several, a series of letters, notes, and photographs. Some were familiar, but others I had never seen before. And then there were the names written on them. Names I didn't recognize, and one in particular, underlined 3 times, that made my stomach twist. Victor Miller. Who was Victor Miller? The name haunted me, though I had never heard Charlotte mention it before. I scanned the documents, my hands trembling as I pieced together the information in front of me. Each note seemed to be a breadcrumb leading somewhere I wasn't ready to follow. They were dates, meetings, conversations, exchanges that Charlotte had kept hidden, buried under layers of silence. And then I saw it. A photograph that hit me like a slap in the face. It was a picture of Charlotte and a man I didn't recognize, tall, dark-haired, with a smile that looked far too comfortable for a husband to see. They were close, too close, standing on a balcony with the sunset behind them, arms around each other. And on the back of the photo, scrawled in Charlotte's neat handwriting, was a simple message. "Victor, my heart belongs to you." I froze. The blood drained from my face as everything I thought I knew about Charlotte shattered in an instant. The woman I had married, the woman I had trusted, had been hiding something, someone, from me. There was no denying it now. She had been involved with someone else. And from the way the photograph was taken, it didn't look like a casual affair. It looked like a love story that I had never been a part of. But there was more. At the bottom of the stack of letters, buried beneath the weight of everything else, was another note, a short one, with a scrawl that was harder to read. "David doesn't know. He won't understand. It's better this way. I can't keep pretending." I dropped the folder, my hands shaking, my heart pounding in my chest. The air seemed to suffocate me. The walls closed in as I tried to make sense of it all. What was Charlotte trying to say? What had happened between her and Victor Miller? And why had she left? My head spun, the pieces of the puzzle slowly fitting together, but I couldn't quite see the full picture. There was a coldness growing inside me, a a realization that I hadn't truly known the woman I had spent so many years with. The anger, the hurt, it was all rushing in now, faster than I could control. I didn't know what to do. The house was a ghost of what it used to be, every step I took feeling heavier than the last. I needed answers, and I needed them fast. I had to know why Charlotte had disappeared, why she had left me with nothing but questions, and most importantly, I needed to understand Lily's role in all of this. She knew something. She had to. That evening, I found myself standing in front of the garden, looking out at the sprawling lawns where Lily spent most of her time, her quiet sanctuary. I couldn't shake the feeling that she was hiding something from me, something crucial. I needed to confront her. It wasn't just about what had happened to Charlotte anymore. It was about understanding the truth. About everything. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what was to come. I would go to her. I would get the answers I needed. As I walked towards the garden, I saw her, Lily, standing by the fence, her eyes lost in the distance. When she saw me approaching, she stiffened, her shoulders tensing as if preparing for something she couldn't control. I stopped a few feet away, my voice low but steady. "Lily, we need to talk." Her eyes darted away, a flash of panic crossing her face. "David," she whispered, almost pleading. There's something you need to know." The words hung in the air, thick with tension. And in that moment, I knew that whatever came next would change everything. But I had no choice. I needed to know the truth. "Tell me what happened," I said, my voice sharp. "Tell me about Charlotte. About Victor. About everything." Her silence spoke volumes, and I could feel the walls she had built around herself starting to crumble. This was it. The moment when everything would be revealed. Lily's eyes flickered with something I couldn't place. Fear? Guilt? Regret? She finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't want to be the one to tell you, but Charlotte didn't leave because she didn't love you. She left because she was afraid. Afraid of what she had become, and of the secret she was keeping." She paused, her breath shaky. Victor wasn't just an affair. He was someone she was going to run away with. But it wasn't just love. It was her way of escaping the life she felt trapped in. "Trapped with you." I recoiled, the truth stinging more than I expected. All this time, I had believed Charlotte had left because of me. The truth felt like a betrayal. But Lily wasn't finished. She told me everything, David. She was planning to leave with him and start fresh, away from this life. But she couldn't bring herself to go through with it. She wanted to stay with you, with Luke, but couldn't admit to herself that she needed to let go of the past. Her voice cracked. A silence fell between us, thick and suffocating. My mind raced, my heart aching with the weight of what I was hearing. My wife, my partner, had been living a life I didn't know. But at that moment, all I could see was her, Charlotte's face, the woman I had built my world around, now lost in the wreckage of a life we had tried to create together. Lily stepped closer, her eyes full of remorse. "I don't expect you to forgive me, or her, but I wanted you to understand. She loved you, David. She was just too broken to show it anymore." I looked at Lily, a mix of gratitude and anger bubbling inside me. In that moment, everything seemed to fall into place. My frustration, my confusion, the strange distance between Charlotte and me. And now, as I stared at the woman who had been a part of our lives for so long, I realized that my journey of healing might begin with her too. What came next was uncertain, but the answers were no longer buried. I had to make sense of what came after the storm had passed. With baby Luke in my arms, the weight of what Lily had shared pressed heavily on me. I wasn't sure where the future would lead, but I knew I had to rebuild. And maybe, just maybe, there was something between Lily and me that could help with that. Something unexpected. Something real. But for now, I was left with the one question that would haunt me forever. How do I move forward with a love that was never truly mine to begin with?